Back in 2010, Metroid fans couldn't contain their excitement for the new installment in the franchise after the Metroid Prime trilogy. Trailers and interviews alone had us itching for more. It would become the first Metroid merging both 2D and 3D gameplay elements with constant callbacks to past games in the franchise. The first Metroid to delve into Samus as a character and finally develop this psychologically damaged titan of a bounty hunter. The first Metroid to be hit with so much overwhelming negativity and ended up shelving the franchise for nearly a decade? Wait, what? After pre-ordering the game myself, I tore right into it and generally enjoyed the experience. Sure, I had some gripes, but nothing game-breaking for sure. I loved the concept and honestly had a great time with it. And then I went online, and the internet was more flustered than an angry toddler who just had his popsicle stolen, declaring Metroid Other M to be an absolute atrocity of a video game. What's the discrepancy here? Did absolutely everybody jump on the haters bandwagon, leaving no sorry soul to defend this game? While on replay, I began to recognize a lot of these problems. I still found that they were overshadowed by all the good that was actually attempted in Other M. Did he just use the words good and Other M in one sentence? Grab your pitchforks, children! Another crazy man on the internet has just implored for assisted suicide. Hear me out. Let's at least, for a moment, forget what the internet says about Other M. Let's drop the bitterness of what we've heard to formulate a fair analysis for ourselves. Whether we like it or not, we're stuck with Other M. So let's learn to accept the truth for what it really is. Let's be honest about Metroid Other M. Nintendo wasn't alone in creating Other M. They were joined by Team Ninja, the creators of Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball and inventors of Boob Jiggle Physics. Nobody you'd trust more to personifying the face of a strong female character, eh, Nintendo? Fortunately, Samus didn't end up looking as ludicrously erotic as most of her fan art, but still seemed to lose her suit whenever the developers felt the need to remind us that there's a hot woman in skin-tight suit under here, which fortunately wasn't frequent. The story is where nearly all complaints originate. Keep in mind, Other M was written and directed by Yoshio Sakamoto, the same guy who did Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, and Zero Mission. Those games, however, had little to no dialogue or story, bar Fusion, of which Metroid Other M is a prequel. To say the story is badly written and dialogue poorly delivered would be like saying the Leaning Tower of Pisa doesn't lean. It's obvious to everyone, unless your head isn't on straight. I was well aware of how bad the story was, but complaining about a Metroid game for its story felt like saying you buy Playboy magazines just to read the articles. That's not the point. Metroid never needed a story to develop this independent, strong female character. It's when the story goes out of its way to demean the character and have her conform to every sexist trope imaginable, it starts to cause damage to the franchise that can no longer be blissfully ignored. Our strong, independent bounty hunter becomes a drained female stereotype in a complete contrast to why she was created as a female in the first place. She was a welcome slap in the face to the male-only sexist sausage fest that was video games in the late 1980s. Surprise, you overgrown cocks! You've been playing as a woman killing alien pirates and becoming an intergalactic bounty hunter. The most important part of this twist was that it didn't mean anything. Unless you were one of those simple sexist twigs cluttering the boys-only treehouse, in which case you dropped the controller to avoid getting cooties before becoming blindingly self-aware of yourself. And that was the point. I won't get into details, but the story in Other M seems to get worse and worse each time I experience it. In its defense, the story is not the point of the game. It's taking a video game franchise with virtually no story and attempting to make a movie out of it. Super Mario Brothers, I'm looking at you. Regardless, the plot was written and directed by the same guy who worked on the titles we loved. Who's to say the character we thought behaved one way wasn't actually acting another? Silent protagonists are conduits into the world for the player, where they can step into the world using them as an avatar. Once that character suddenly speaks and acts on their own, they'll inevitably let us down, since they can't possibly keep up that facade. But as I previously mentioned, I didn't buy Other M for the story, so I wasn't too bothered by it. If anything, it was a breath of fresh air watching Nintendo actually experiment. I can say that most of the cinematography is absolutely stunning. It's the occasional badly written or poorly delivered lines that provoke the inevitable eye roll. Comparing it to other video game movies nobody asked for, it's honestly not too bad. there have been much worse. So, how's the gameplay? Well, it combines concepts from 2D Metroid series with the 3D Prime series, all while utilizing a 3D map and just the Wii Remote. Sounds like a recipe for disaster, but it behaves surprisingly well. The player alternates between holding the controller sideways in a traditional 2D Metroid format and pointing the Wiimote at the screen, emulating Prime's first-person missile shooting techniques. The only time these mechanics are at odds with one another are when the player is forced to rapidly switch between one and another in order to finish off enemies and bosses. Not inherently difficult, but definitely requiring a learning curve. The game also introduced counterattacking and special fighting techniques like the invincible dodge sense move. Though a cool way to show off the new 3D enhancements, some abilities like the sense move awarded game-breaking invincibility when utilized in abundance. Aside from combat, the game behaved inherently similar to Metroid Fusion, fairly linear progression with backtracking inevitable in order to find all the health and ammo pickups. The differences occur with navigation rooms now being your recharge stations as well as your save points and the upgrade system. Generally, at the start of a Metroid game, Samus just starts out with practically no power-ups for no reason, or suddenly loses all of her power-ups from a simple bonk on the head. Here, however, Samus's former commander Adam Malkovich must give her clearance in order to use the upgrades that Samus already has. He makes it clear that if she is to assist the Galactic Federation in their mission, then she must follow his commands to a T, to which she does throughout the game. This is just simple creative reasoning to why Samus has all of her upgrades but can't use them yet. But it certainly doesn't explain everything. Some beam and bomb attacks could be detrimental to the ship, and the team of course, but why should Adam restrict Samus from using her protective heat-proof Variasuit armor when she's clearly burning alive in a volcano? Because it's better than being bonked on the head. It's a video game. All level design would be compromised had Samus been permitted to use her full arsenal. I simply take comfort in knowing they actually thought of a reason why this time and just moved on with the game. It's a shame more people can't see the fundamentals of game design, but instead are blinded by the plot. Speaking of plot and gameplay colliding in an incoherent mess, occasionally the game halts everything until the player has pointed at some minuscule thing hidden anywhere 360 degrees around you for Samus to notice before the story can go on. One of these moments had me trapped, unable to save, and waving the Wiimote around aimlessly for 30 minutes before realizing that the green goop behind me was supposed to mean something. Segments like these paired with the long, unskippable cutscenes only the likes of Metal Gear Solid 4 can compete with only add to the overwhelming chore it is to sit through this game's story. The thing is, MGS4 actually had engaging plot and characters, to the extent that I hardly noticed when my controller died of inactivity. These cutscenes could also be skipped. Other M instead forces us to listen to the incessant redundant monologuing of a reclusive angsty teenager with major daddy issues. Honestly, my biggest problem with this game is its music. Metroid is known for its ambiently haunting sci-fi tracks, blending horror and exploration in a chilling and exciting way. Other M's music was composed by anime composer Kunaki Haishima, who, with absolutely no relevant experience whatsoever, generated the most bland soundtrack in the franchise since Metroid 2 for the Game Boy. You could replace nearly any track with Super Metroid or Metroid Prime tracks and the game would be vastly improved. The tone was meant to reflect Samus's emotions and state of mind. Well, did I mention that Samus in this game is an excessively emotionless, bland, and monotone character?
The thumbs-up sign had been used by the Galactic Federation for ages. Me? I was known for giving the thumbs down during briefing.
In that case, Hayashima hit the nail on the head. I can't defend the soundtrack in any other way. It's rancid. Other than the Ridley theme, which is overused like a crutch throughout the game. But hey, it's the Ridley theme, and it's pretty good. I said I would be defending this game earlier, right? Well, it's true I have quite a lot of problems with this game, but most of its redemption comes from the form of callbacks and fanfare. Nearly all enemies and bosses are in direct reference to or are enemies from games past. Nightmare from Fusion makes an early canonical appearance. Fantoon from Super Metroid is haunting the ship as a surprise final boss. The Metroid Queen is back from the freaking Game Boy, hatching Metroids mid-battle, requiring a traditional powerbomb to the belly takedown. Ridley and Mother Brain even get boss fights. It's that warm, fuzzy fanfare alone that makes me go easy on this game. It's everything I'd ever want in a Metroid title, but it's also a narrative abomination. The narrative thread about a traitor among Adam's men is actually forgotten about, and his identity is never revealed. The player can piece together his identity as James Pierce, but even that has no bearing on the plot. Sure, the Ridley PTSD reaction Samus enacts has been heavily criticized since she's bested him so many times already, but once again, how do we know that Samus took it all so confidently before? Ridley killed not just her family, but her entire colony, right in front of her, causing her to be rescued and raised by alien bird people. She should be absolutely terrified of this guy, especially now, since she just, in Super Metroid, killed him for good. He quite literally exploded in a gory lasagna buffet. I don't know about you, but this encounter, in particular, would freak me the hell out. Plus, I gotta say, the execution of this particular scene with the tense build-up, the loss of Samus's only friend defending her, and the nice touch of the cowering child Samus depicted in the same way it happened in the manga, builds an effective nervous sensation and still gives me goosebumps. Maybe I'm just a softie for Ridley, but something actually worked there. In a similarly criticized battle, Mother Brain is revealed to be an AI android character, acting exactly in the same way Mother Brain did on Zebes. Although this time, instead of the Chozo creating and getting destroyed by it, it's the Galactic Federation. The battle has you locked in place attempting to shoot Mother Brain while you're being bombarded with enemies as distractions. Now why does that sound familiar? Probably because it's exactly what Samus did in every single Mother Brain encounter ever. Seriously, am I the only one who recognized this? I can spend the next hour listing specifics about the actual narrative problems or defenses for popular complaints, but for the sake of beating a dead horse, I'm gonna bring this train back to the station. Are there problems with Metroid Other M? Yes. Are the story and dialogue deliveries bad? Usually. Is the gameplay bad? Not inherently, no. Should anything prevent you from enjoying it for what it is? Abso-freaking-lutely not. Contrary to what you may have heard, Other M was actually received very well, and had generally positive reviews across the board on launch. Negativity does nothing but damage a franchise. Instead of providing constructive criticism for the developers, we took their brand new finger painting they had just happily pinned to the fridge and tore it to pieces right in front of their eyes. What a surprise. The next time we saw Nintendo dig up Samus's grave and put something new on the fridge, it was the very definition of safe. And Metroid fans should know now more than anyone what 7 years of inactivity feels like. So don't let somebody else tell you how to feel about something. Just enjoy Other M for the effort that it aspired to encapsulate and for what it truly is. Be your own person and make your own calls. With that said, I can now say that Metroid Other M isn't a bad game. But hey, that's just if we're being honest. Hey, thanks for listening to me rant about Metroid Other M. Hopefully I've helped you see this old game in a new light. Let me know what other games you think I should review in the future. To help others find this video, leave a like and subscribe for more, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.